Hey, what's up folks? Paul here. I'm going to show you how to use some leftover coleslaw and turn it into a delicious Japanese dish called okonomiyaki. Okonomiyaki is like a Japanese pancakey kind of thing with a bunch of usually cabbage in it, which makes it a good substitution for coleslaw. We're going to start off by adding our drained coleslaw to a mixing bowl. I'll provide exact measurements in the show notes. And then we're going to add a couple of things. We're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. We're going to add a teaspoon or so of nutritional yeast. That is totally optional. It just adds a bit of extra umami kind of flavor to the result. And then of course flour. We're basically making a batter, right, that we're mixing through. Now you can't substitute regular yeast for the nutritional yeast, so if you don't have it, just skip it. And then we're going to crack an egg into it. And I have some stale corn chips, and I'm just going to give those a crush with the bottom of another bowl, and I'm going to add those, and that'll add a little bit of crunchy element. And then we're going to add some water. Then simply give it a really good mix. Here I'm using a pair of chopsticks, but you can mix it however you like. A rubber spatula works, a spoon or a fork works, whatever you're comfortable using. And you're basically just going to keep mixing it until you get a fairly even batter mixed throughout the cabbage coleslaw mix. And then that's about done. You don't need to go overboard. Next, you want to bring up a non-stick pan up to temperature. You're going to add some oil, and you're going to wipe most of that oil away. You just want to have a little bit of oil to ensure your non-stick's going to work, but you don't need to go overboard. You don't want it to be too greasy, especially if you've already got a fairly mayonnaise-heavy coleslaw. And then we're just going to add the whole thing into the pan. Now this is an 8-inch pan, which is perfect for like I would say a single serving if this is all you're eating. If you were going to have it with some other stuff, you'd probably have it between 2 people. And you're just going to kind of flatten it out, even it out, make sure there's plenty of mix touching the bottom of the pan to get nice and brown. We're just going to cook it on really low temperature. You want it to have a chance to cook all the way through without burning the bottom. So I'm basically on the lowest temperature setting this little outdoor stove will take. And I think I cooked it for about 5 minutes. You can see here every once in a while I just kind of test the underneath of it to try and get a feel for what it's like. Obviously I don't want to try and flip it before it's ready or I can damage it. You can see a few times I'm sort of just pressing down, making sure we've got a fairly even size and it's all sort of touching the bottom of the pan. Once you're pretty happy, you're gonna flip it. Now you could do a flip in the pan if you're pretty good, but I tend to slide it off onto a plate. Re-oil the pan And then I put the pan on top of the plate upside down and then just flip the whole thing. And that's a pretty good way of doing it fairly safely without worrying about messing things up too much. You can see there I didn't do too bad a job. And then once it's flipped, you get your chopsticks and you kind of just tuck the edges in underneath itself. That just helps with the shaping and gets it like nice and puffy and looking nice. And then we're going to cook it for about the same amount of time on this side as we did the other side, until we're cooked all the way through. I'm a little bit extra, so I like to throw a slice of cheese on shortly after I've flipped it to give it plenty of time to just kind of melt down and get nice and gooey. When the bottom is about done, you want to then add some mayonnaise. This is Kewpie mayonnaise with Japanese mayonnaise. And then you're going to add some sauce. I'm just using actually tonkatsu sauce. And you kind of just do zigzags like that. Then if you want to be fancy, you can run a chopstick through and kind of make little lines through the toppings. If you don't have like a Japanese sauce like tonkatsu sauce or takoyaki sauce, you could totally use a regular barbecue sauce, and you could also use regular mayonnaise, or you could just skip them all together if you wanted. Just before taking off the heat, I give it a sprinkle of sancho powder, which is like the Japanese version of Szechuan peppercorns. And then I add some Japanese spice mix, togarashi shimichi, I think it is. My pronunciation is terrible, I apologize. And then you add just a little bit of bonito flakes, totally optional. If you don't have them, skip them, but they are kind of cool the way they wave at you as they're taking in heat. And then when it's cooked, you'll simply want to slide it out onto your plate. I had a little bit of trouble here because I think the barbecue sauce, the tonkatsu sauce, had caused it to stick a little bit, but no worries. And if, you can knead it up a little bit and try and get it back to the center of the plate if you didn't do a great job, or you can just eat it. It doesn't really matter. Purely cosmetics. And that's it. That is our okonomiyaki. It is pretty easy to make, really good way to use kind of any leftover cabbagey type products. I have even used before like bagged salad mix, like a bagged Caesar salad or something, if it's like right at the use by date and I don't feel like eating a regular salad. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed.